Hello everyone. We're here after an epic week with the Habanos World Day Festival, celebrating the 55th anniversary of the Trinidad brand, right here in our hometown of London. My father and I were very fortunate to attend all of it, and it's taken us a few days to calm down from the excitement and just bring back into focus perhaps and recap the amazing events that took place. For your benefit, I know many of you couldn't be there, we're going to run through our own impressions of each day, and we're going to also give you a little teaser of what's to come at the culmination, what was given out on the Saturday night at the gala dinner. Quite amazing. But before that, let's start on the Thursday evening. So, Belgrave Square, beautiful private gardens here in London, was host to the cocktail party. I know you've seen this invitation before from us when we received it, but sure enough, the actual event did not disappoint. We arrived on a beautiful, warm London evening, sunny, cocktails, a welcome like no other, cigars flowing freely. Dad, do you remember there must have been, what, 4 or 5 different Trinidads?
Oh, God. I mean, just by the entrance already, we were greeted by trays and trays of glasses of beautiful champagne, ice cold. And then from there on, it was the cigars. It was it was walking into smoker's heaven. That's how I could describe it. Here in the heart of London, Belgrave Square, it was just fascinating.
And of course, the real amazing element was how many people had come from around the world, fellow aficionados, fellow colleagues in the trade. Of course, Hunters and Frankow, the host, were there. Habanos were there, celebrities from the world of Habanos. For the average person, they may not know them, but for us, meeting the people behind the Trinidad brand, meeting the people behind the distribution of these amazing cigars, meeting really important Cubans who've been intrinsic in bringing Trinidad to its prominence today in the world, they were all there. Colleagues from all around the world were there. We had cigars, we had drinks. I think the culmination of that evening was the goodie bag, because I can't recall if it was in the goodie bag or before, but we got the new Robusto Extra, the re-release of the Robusto Extra. Do you remember that? Was that in the goodie bag or did it come out during the evening?
It was definitely a goodie bag as well, yes. I'm not sure if they were presented there to smoke those also, but I mean, I had so many cigars.
I know.
I don't even remember which one I smoked and which I didn't.
So here we have it. This is the new Robusto Extra. This is the, let's see first, I suppose the third iteration of it. It first came out back in, I believe it was 2003. It was released as a new line within the Trinidad range. It's a 50 ring gauge, but longer. Then it was discontinued. And then it reappeared as part of the travel retail offering, a beautiful travel humidor. This is about 3 or 4 years ago. Disappeared again. And now it's reappeared, and we're assured it's going to join again the pantheon of cigars that exist within the Trinidad
as a regular
brand.
feature, yes?
I believe so, yes. So that's wonderful. Really happy about that. I'd also like to pull out this amazing case that was gifted to us as we left. By the way, this is a common theme across the 3 days. It felt expensive, in truth, the tickets for the cocktail and the seminar and the gala dinner. But when we saw what we had received, all of us, all the attendees, all the goodies in the bags and the cigars and the drinks, and you sort of tot it up very back of the fag pack, you realized that you'd actually been paid to attend. And this is included. I mean, here was a gorgeous case from Bosquet, emblazoned, of course, with the Habanos World Days London 2024 logo, beautiful embossing. And there were 2 cigars inside. I've taken them out already. For those of you who don't know, Emmanuel Bosquet is an amazing French maker of cigar accessories and other items. He's also produced our very own Edward Sahakian cases. and he produces for others as well. So here we have it. I got another beautiful Bosquet case, and we got some accessories. We got beautiful cutter and lighter. Nothing cheap about any of the elements for the evening. So Thursday night ended. I think all of us were nursing the beginnings of a hangover, perhaps. But my father had to behave himself, because the next morning, Dad, what did you have to do?
Well, I was very much honored to be part of the panel there, talking about the history of the Trinidad cigars. As you all know, Trinidad is one of my favorites, and from day one, I was always fond of a mild, nice Fundadores. And on that panel, there was some, how can I describe it? It was a journey down memory lane. We had, I started with the past, and then there was discussion about the present, and then, of course, the future, and the promises that we've had. I was in a different world, and we're sitting there talking, smoking a cigar in an audience of several hundred people, perhaps even more. That was my participation, at least for the morning. It started at 10 o'clock.
It felt earlier, right? Because we were so excited.
Well, I was pacing up and down Belgrave Square already around 9:30. And then midday, we had a break, a coffee break, more cigars, more drinks. And then we had a fascinating tasting of a drink, which I don't even remember how it was made. It was described.
Was it Canchara? Was it the Canchara?
Yes,
I think that's the right.
Something like that, yes. It was rum and a blend of saffron and so many others.
There was lime juice, I think, in there. But that was well. I'll come on to the genesis of that. I was following the story as it developed, but you know, the bit that really got me, I'm a sucker for a great coffee. For me, espresso has to really be just the right levels of crema, the flavor, the quantity, the temperature. All these elements are so important. So I came into an outdoor event in Belgrave Square fearing that the coffee would not stack up to my hangover. I was so happy because, of course, who else but Burly? Burly Coffee, I think they're called the Burly Bakery. For those of you who don't know, is a recent arrival to the scene in London in terms of a bakery. They were doing the viennoiserie. They were also doing the coffee. So I got an impeccable coffee before we started.
They also do the best almond croissant in the world, not in the UK, in the world. That's my favorite croissant wherever I go, anywhere, particularly in France. I do make a point of tasting them, Eddie.
Yes.
And the Burly Bakery almond croissant, it is out of this world.
Is it your number one?
It is definitely number one.
My father doesn't confer a number one lightly, so you got to know that.
100 points to that, definitely.
So it was a really wonderful beginning. And then, of course, the panel my father was on, I got to watch it and enjoy it. Probably easier to enjoy the whole of it when you're not participating in the panel. And it was moderated beautifully by Nick Fowkes. You know, some real legends from the cigar world, you know, Max Gutman, of course, our dear friend Kirby Allison. We had Anna Lopez from Hunters and Francow, and we had some amazing Cubans had come over from Cuba to be with us, who were deeply involved in the origin of Trinidad and the ongoing production of Trinidad. And the questions were really good. You know, Nick Fowkes had put together not straightforward questions, questions that probed and pushed and tested the panelists' knowledge. We loved it, watching that.
It was an education. It was education for me. Just when I thought I knew a little more, I realized how little I knew.
And then Dad's right. We had that little break. I almost didn't get my seat after the break. I thought, oh, I'll just stay in the sun and smoke my cigar. But then, of course, I saw the amazing gentleman from 5 Hertford Street who had won the prize within the UK to present the pairing of a Trinidad cigar with a cocktail. And they had done the most beautiful presentation, and they were able to present this to the gathered audience, and it was the first time I was seeing it. And please forgive my incorrect recollection of the name of the cocktail, but I think it was the canchara or cachesara, something like this. It's a historic, traditional Cuban cocktail. The variant they had included some alcohol, some amazing rum, and the intention was really to balance with, and if I remember, Dad, it was
Before you go further, I have to say there was two versions of it, with alcohol, with rum, and without rum.
Yes.
And they were both delicious, but obviously for me, the one with the rum was fantastic.
And Dad, what was the cigar that was paired with it? Was it the Topaz? It was the Topaz.
It was the Topaz. To be honest, I continued smoking my Fundadores. I did a terrible thing, but I'm proud of it. In the morning when we entered the square, we were all offered the Fundadores, if you remember. And the first thing I did, I picked up the Fundadores. I looked at the sky. I said, a bit too early to smoke this beautiful 7-inch cigar. So I cut about a third of it and started smoking that, and the rest of it went into my pocket. So when we sat onto the panel, that's when the second one came out.
The Sahakian cut, we call it. and as part of this amazing drink and cigar pairing, and really tutorial from the team at 5 Harford Street, we were also offered some of their cigars. Cigars, my
chocolates,
apologies. Some of their chocolates.
Burly's chocolates.
I have only the box to show you. Unfortunately, the chocolates were consumed very quickly. But they were amazing. Again, from a different planet. So hats off to them. Hats off, again, to everyone involved in that production. We had a chance really to learn again and to hear again from Gemma Freeman of Hunters and Frankow. We went home. We enjoyed the goodies that we had received that day. And that day it was, I don't have it with me, but we had a beautiful pencil case, some writing implements for the occasion. Again, a very, very lovely ashtray and cutter and lighters. So we were thoroughly spoiled. In fact, what I have here is another example of the goodies we were given. It feels a little wasted on cigar merchants, but it wasn't. We love a good cutter and lighter. We can never have enough. And that really brought us into Friday evening. There wasn't anything formally planned Friday evening, but you can imagine with this many cigar lovers gathered in London, we very quickly gathered in little groups. Many of the cigar lounges and shops in London celebrated the Trinidad occasion by hosting their own private parties, showcasing specific Trinidad cigars. We were very fortunate to be in attendance at the Arts Club in their amazing, I think it's called Oscuro
Room
Cigar Lounge, and what an event that was. I know our own Bulgari did a little gathering as well, as did many others. That brought us to Saturday. Again, another hangover, but this time we had most of the day to recover, because the culmination, of course, was here. This amazing invite. It says here, the V&A Museum, but that doesn't tell you half of the story. So we gathered at 6:30 at the Victoria and Albert Museum from the Exhibition Road entrance. We were led through into the amazing central courtyard, which is a stunning space to gather anyhow. Again, cigars coming out of our ears. We didn't know what to smoke at that point.
Cigars, champagne, beautiful weather still.
Cocktails.
The cocktails. I just stayed with the champagne.
Yeah.
I stayed with the champagne. It was great. And good company.
Great company.
It was an opportunity for over an hour to mingle around with all the guests. I met some friends I hadn't seen for 15, 20, 25 years. It was incredible. We had people from all over the world. From every part of the world, there were people there. Everybody in the trade or the cigar lovers. It was just incredible for me. I really enjoyed that.
Me too. And then we were led, without cigars, I should add, or drinks, you have to be cautious, through the museum and ended up in the Raphael Court, which had recently gone through a beautiful refurbishment. And the Raphael cartoons take pride of place around the wall. And in there, we were seated. It's gorgeous tables. The stage was set. Some beautiful settings had been put in place for the upcoming celebration in there. And dinner was amazing.
The dinner was delicious. There was 40 tables. There was over 400 people there. And the food arrived just at the right temperature, at the right time. It was delicious. Fantastic wines. I don't know if you tried the wine. The white wine was good, but I'm more of a red wine person, and I loved it. And
Yes.
again, everything was flowing. And when we came at the end, where we were offered and served the rum,
Beautiful
10-year-old rum. Oh my God!
And at that point, cigars were, well, before we get onto that, there was an auction.
Yes.
So I believe it was 5 or 6 very amazing Trinidad-themed lots were auctioned. A huge amount of money was raised.
Well,
I think
5,200,000 euros.
that's impressive, even by London standards. And of course, the lucky winners, no doubt, are licking their lips with the amazing humidors they've won. The rest of us admiringly and enviously watched them as they acquired these beautiful lots.
Well, we were there of a history in making, and we were witnessing.
And at that point, I think dessert was announced, which would be taken in the courtyard, but also the final cigar of the evening was brought out, and this was the Cabildos. This is the cigar that that we had heard about so much, but hadn't actually seen in the flesh. That's my little box of it.
Is it yours or mine?
This one is mine. Thank you very much.
Okay, then you could show it to everybody.
Thank you, Dad. And this one is the 2024 limited edition. It's a 46 ring gauge cigar. The Premier Edition, which is the only one available now and the only available in the UK market, 10,000 boxes made. It has a unique band on it, distinct to the normal limited editions, which will say limited edition or edición limitada 2024. This one actually says Premier Edición Limitada 2024. This series are the only ones that will have that. In the box itself, there's a NFC, which is a type of identification, electric identification system. And embedded within the foot of each one of these cigars is a matching NFC, which I believe matches the box. So a little distinguishing feature. Each box is numbered. This happens to be box number 8,872 of 10,000. So there's only going to be 50,000 of these available.
And these boxes hold how many cigars, Eddie?
5, only 5. It was a beautiful cigar. We were so lucky to receive it. We had about an hour, hour and a half to enjoy the cigar in the courtyard again. The weather was behaving beautifully. And then, of course, being a national treasure, which the V&A is, we had to respect certain rules. So I think it was at 11 or 11:30 sharp. We were politely but firmly told to leave.
Well, we left there at 12 o'clock, and we weren't the last ones. We were probably one of the first ones to physically leave there.
And again, in the theme of being given gifts far in excess of the cost, this box of cigars and a couple of other items, which I'll get onto in a moment, were given to us on our way out in a gorgeous, big, heavy box. I mean, if you want to know how to excite a cigar smoker, tantalize them with a gift that could vaguely resemble a box of cigars. You know, we all got home, tore open our goodie bags, and not only was there this amazing box of cigars, there was also a rather curious box. And I won't show you the box itself, but when we opened it, it was fascinating. Dad, why don't you tell us a little bit about this fearsome-looking object?
Well, I don't know exactly what to call this, but I've seen, and I do have the older version of this. Basically, it's a knife or a tool that resembles, I could say, like a small knife, perhaps.
Yeah.
The top end is not very sharp, but it's sharp enough.
Not with this one, thank you very much.
No,
But I know what you mean.
It's if you have a box of cigar and you want to cut the label before you open it, so with this top end you would cut the label off, and from the other side you push the top of the
wedge
box
it open.
slightly. Then there's this slit here,
A little notch on it.
to pull the nail out. You would open the box, you will inspect it or take a cigar. Then when you close it, finally, this bit, which is used like a small hammer to knock back the nail into the box. But the whole thing, the handle itself, I'm not sure where it's made, possibly Sheffield.
Well, perhaps.
I don't know. But beautifully done. It's not mass produced. I hope we will be able and allowed to have some of these in stock to sell it to our customers. This bit is solid brass, nice and heavy, beautifully finished. I definitely kept mine, and I might even buy a couple more to keep it as presents.
And if I recall, Hunters and Frankow actually have some very original units of these, like my father does, very old ones, which would have, I presume, been produced by the importers or wholesalers of Cuban cigars 100 years ago, 150 years ago, to do exactly the pieces that my
They're
father
a bit
described.
more bulkier and much more primitive. This is a refined version of it, beautifully done.
And so that really brings us to the end of the amazing 3 days. And as I mentioned at the beginning of our piece, we were dumbstruck. Everyone there was glowing with praise. None of us, I mean, many of us have been to galas and events and cigar festivals around the world. I think most of us would have been hard-pressed to have named one that exceeded what was delivered on these 3 days.
And the big credit goes to Gemma Freeman.
Oh,
I don't know how she managed to organize all the various events at the same time with such quality. I mean, everything that was produced was quality. Unbelievable.
yes.
Unbelievable.
Yeah, absolutely.
And the cigars, of course. I mean, cigars we smoked, all of them, they were newly rolled. And as Eddie mentioned, the Trinidad Cabildos, they're beautiful cigars ready to smoke. However, every one you smoke, I would strongly recommend put one aside for some period later. This is your next collector's item. Anybody who wants to invest in cigars, trust me, you can't go wrong with this.
But it will be unobtainable, is that not correct, Dad? Because you have already cornered the entire market.
I wish it was true. Eddie doesn't let me buy any of the cigars. It's for our customers, Dad. But no fear, Eddie. I'm still enjoying some of my older cigars.
Oh.
And I have a little hat trick for you before we finish.
Oh. Unlike England.
Here we are. Under my hat, I've got something here to share with you, Eddie.
Oh. What is that, Dad?
This is a box of the Reyes I bought in 2004. It's actually stamped 2004 as well.
My God, so that's 1 year after it was released.
It was,
2003
yes,
it was
one
released.
Of the very first ones that was released. And it's 20 years old to the date that it went into this box. I tested one earlier today.
May I sniff it, Dad?
No, you could take one and smoke it, and we will smoke it later together as well.
They don't smell great, Dad. I think you should really let me take these.
No, they do. They do
a quality control
and
test.
The same will be said 20 years down the road for these.
Well, there we have it. Much can be said and will be said about these 3 days that passed. I'm pleased we've added a little bit to the story. It is only complimentary. It is amazing. We hope we have another opportunity in London to host something similar. But if we don't, we'll say we were at the Trinidad event in 2024
And together.
and together. So until our next video, hope you enjoy this and hope we'll see you all soon.
Bye.